Well, welcome everyone to what's become our annual.
I didn't realize we were on air.
Yes, we are. So I just figured, we better go ahead and start. But welcome.
Yeah, let's get started.
We are in Jim's studio, and as I said, this has become an annual springtime online signing event. It's our opportunity to reach out to everyone out there who hasn't had the opportunity to come to one of Jim's regular signing events. So this way we get to share designs with you, answer your questions, and you get to pick up some signed items by Jim. And tonight we're going to be showing you all kinds of wonderful things. We have your brand new Easter collection, we have new everyday items, patriotic items, and of course there's Disney, and we have surprises thrown in, so it's going to be a great show. And I'm Valerie Menzel, and it's absolutely my pleasure to be here tonight, and I'd like to introduce the world-renowned and incredibly talented Jim Shore.
Thank you, Valerie. It's always wonderful to be here with you and with all the folks out there. That's one nice thing I like about these events like this. It gives me an opportunity once again to share time with the folks out there that mean so much to me, and that's all the folks out there that share my enthusiasm for the artwork. And I think it's important to try to make a personal connection between myself when it comes to art. Between myself as the person who does the creating and the person who shares that with me by collecting or appreciating, and it adds an extra dimension to the and a little point of interest to the artwork if we sort of know each other.
That's right, and get ideas from your viewers, which we'll talk about later.
And of course it's springtime now, so we're in the South, and things are blooming, and it's that resurgent of life, that inspires me and gets me all revved up to work. Of course, I get revved up in the summer, fall, winter.
Yes, this man is nonstop. I've come to the realization he never sleeps. That's just the way he rolls, right?
I get a lot done.
Yes, you do.
I resent sleep, actually. It's such a waste of time.
It gets in the way. But tonight, on top of everything else, we have a great offer for everyone out there. With a purchase of $25 or more, you get eligible to all these beautiful new designs signed by Jim. Now you have to purchase them between 7 p.m. tonight or all through the day tomorrow on jimshore.com, and it has to be in-stock items only. But what a wonderful collection of really beautiful, unique items, all signed by Jim on jimshore.com.
Well, I always liked taking the time to sign the pieces because I know that makes the piece a little bit different, a little bit special for folks that collect it, and everyone likes artwork that's actually, held and signed by the artist that makes it, and I know a lot of people appreciate that. And
absolutely.
So it's always a delight for me to, be able to do that.
Right, and have so many things to choose from. I mean, beautiful Easter basket that actually lights up. We have another new storybook one, which is wonderful, from The Lion King. I mean, we'll share them as we go through the collections, but just so many beautiful things. Something for everyone. You can purchase one, or you can purchase them all. But you have to make sure you do it on jimshore.com.
I recommend purchasing them all.
Absolutely.
It's kind of an instant collection.
That's right. That's right. A little bit of everything, right?
No, really, what this represents, really, like you say, is a little bit of something for everyone. There's these different stories and these different characters, and it celebrates different things. So that's one thing I think that is particularly good and different about my line, and I think it's one of the things that has led to the popularity of the line, is that it's not just character-driven or subject-driven. Right. It's I go through so many different different points of interest that interest me.
Right.
And with the co-brands that I've been able to partner up with, like Disney, The Grinch, Peanuts, and so many others, for those people who like that subject, or like my artwork in particular, or want something that's unique and interesting for a gift, there's something there for everyone, including the core pieces from Heartwood Creek that emphasize my version of the folk art style, and even that's broken up, into the Heartwood, the general Heartwood Creek, which is a folk art, highly colorful collection, to the white woodland, which is there's an example there.
Yes.
It's more neutral, and it's a little, the color is not dominating the piece.
Right.
And then I have the Victorian, and I have some of the others. So there's a lot here as far as variation or variety, in styling and in the subject matter, and it keeps it interesting for me too.
Oh, of course. I mean, you've done hundreds of thousands of pieces. I mean, how do you keep it fresh? Well, you have new subject matter. You have different versions of the subject matter. You have different coloration. Yeah, so of
That's
course.
one thing that I think sets what I do apart. Now, there's other artists, of course, in the gift industry, and a lot of them are my friends, and a lot of them are very good, and I appreciate what they do. But, when I start doing these pieces, it's not a matter of commercialization or sales or any of that kind of stuff. It's a matter of really putting myself, and I know it sounds kind of sappy, but I'm passionate about what I do.
Absolutely.
And when I do this stuff, the only thing I'm thinking about is how it's going to affect the person that it ultimately ends up with. Whether it's going to represent something that is important in their life. It might be a celebration or an anniversary, or you name it. It could be a birth. Sometimes it's the remembering a loss.
Right.
And so that means a lot to me. That touches me, and that's one of the things I think that keep me. If you want to use the word inspired, which I have kind of trouble defining that, but it does make me I think place a little bit more importance on what I do.
Absolutely, and it comes through on every single piece.
I hope so.
There's a little bit of Jim Shore in everything you do, and it's very evident. But if you're on Facebook watching, don't worry. Just go on over to jimshore.com, and you can take advantage of this signed offer there. And remember, we need 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. All regular shipping charges apply. And we'll be here for about an hour, but the show will air on jimshore.com's homepage from 7 p.m. tonight all the way through tomorrow. So you have that whole time to get online, find some items you love, and then take advantage of this wonderful signing offer.
And hopefully there'll be a lot of things for me to sign.
Oh, I don't think there'll be any problem with that whatsoever.
Like I told you before, I truly enjoy signing them. One at a time.
And with great care and
it's
love.
Actually, signing is a lot of work.
I know.
I spend, generally when we have an event like this, I will spend hour upon hour upon hour signing the pieces. And what I try to do is I try to make the first signature as neat and as legible as the last signature. And that's because when I sign my name, I'm signing it for only one person out there. That's the one thing that is important to me and them.
I love that. And we have a lot of questions also from our Facebook group,
Okay.
so I want to make sure we address those. So let's start off with Stacy. She says, what inspires you to select your next piece to work on? For example, does Disney sort of give you guidance on what they want you to do, or do you just pick something that you particularly love?
It's a whole combination, really. I get asked that question occasionally as to what, why I develop the pieces that I develop. And we have this process whereby the people that represent the various brands, that would include Disney, it would include the folks at Margaritaville, the Peanuts folks, the Rudolph, and all the rest. They have certain things that they would like to see executed. And we have our own team that we talk over things that would go good with the Heartwood Creek thing and the different iterations of that. A lot of it's the seasonal stuff, and a lot of it's everyday stuff. And we all get together and we throw all of our ideas together, including me and my team and the others, and we establish through a brainstorm, a list of things to do. Okay. And that would be like line extensions, and the Disney folks, they have their, certain things that they want, or certain projects that are coming up, that I want to design for and that sort of thing. And we get that into a doable list. We sort of congeal it down to something that I can actually, accomplish in the time frame that I have to work on it.
Mm-hmm. And how often do you do those lists? Is it once a year?
We do the basic list twice a year.
Twice a year.
And it basically works for the seasonal thing and then for the spring and summer sort of thing.
And how many items do you normally have on a list? That's scary. That's scary to ask.
I don't really know, to tell you the truth. A lot.
Absolutely.
Because here's what happened during the year. Then all the time, QVC might contact us and say, hey, we want an exclusive something or another, or this is coming up and we'd like to show something. So we'll do specialty things all during the year, for the co-brands and for ideas that we come up with, and stories that we want to tell and things that that I come into my mind, things that are interesting to me. I'll be working on those and I'll work those in. So it's kind of a continuing process, but the Disney people are involved. We are involved with them. It's a back and forth, sort of a symbiotic kind of deal, where we have our input, they have their input, and I try to create the pieces. When I'm doing a piece for the co-brands like Disney, I try to get as accurate as I can, faithful to the characters, or to the scene, the vignette, or whatever, and
the story.
So that people will recognize it as the Disney character, the Disney scene, from this movie or that movie, or the character, and then they can see, it's a Jim Shore piece because of the way I've done it.
Right.
I don't want them to look at it necessarily and say immediately, I don't know what that is, but I know it's by Jim Shore. I want them to know, hey, that's Mickey Mouse.
Of course, but you're always true to the characters.
That's what I try.
Not only do you incorporate it yourself in there, but you are always true to the character.
Even the pieces that I do, and it ranges from things that are very whimsical, and sort of cartoony, some of the pieces, up to things that are fairly realistic or serious, and all of those things I try to. I try to be as accurate and as faithful to my own artistic sensibilities as I can on every single piece. I don't say, okay, well, this is just a piece of fluff, I'll rush through that and learn something else. I mean, even the elements that are within a piece become a separate project, so that, and it takes my attention, so that the detailing is something that people can look at for a long time and see, with interest, the different elements that are contained with it. And you'll see that as we talk through some of this piece.
Oh, the detail is incredible. I mean, that's one of your hallmarks.
I'll give you an example. See that?
Beautiful.
That's just a simple egg, But the attention to detail that goes into this egg is, the same attention to detail that I would do to a full-blown piece,
Right.
Even though that is sort of a secondary thing to the basket, it's just as important as everything else I do.
Right. And speaking of the basket, this is your 14th annual Easter basket. I don't know how you do it.
I know.
Every year you come up with a new basket with all kinds of new eggs. Every egg is different. It's remarkable.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Doing these baskets, and I used to say this is my 14th annual Easter basket. And in addition to that, every year I do a Four Seasons collection of baskets. Every single basket, and you can't get away from the fact that it's a basket. Right. So I mean, it's got to have, it's got to be the bowl-shaped thing with a handle, and so it's recognizable as a basket. But every basket has to be, completely different, so that it's not a me too. It's not something it's got to be original. It's got to be a standalone piece. Yet it's got to have my styling on it and be recognizable as my kind of artwork and all that sort of stuff. And then the eggs, I do 4 or 5, eggs in every one of them. So you can do the math,
I know, it boggles my mind. I need a calculator.
Everyone has to be,
yes.
And they say, okay, can you do another one, And I say, well, it's a struggle. Oh. It's a struggle. Actually, isn't it?
It's not. That's the crazy part. It's not.
But no, I'll tell you, the secret to coming up with this kind of stuff is just to have a vivid imagination, an active imagination, and I always have. Mm-hmm. And to be able to have mental visualization that comes out clear. So once I get the idea, and I generally get the idea as soon as it's suggested.
It just pops in your head.
Do a Four Seasoned Angels, do a Santa Claus in a Sleigh, do a something, do Mickey Mouse, jumping rope or whatever. As soon as I hear the word or the suggestion, an image immediately comes to mind. And then the design work's done.
Well, do you immediately put it on paper, though?
No. I list all of them in my mind.
Wow.
Then I start making my initial drawings so that the drawings are more for communication than anything else.
Right.
So that I can communicate with the folks at Disney or the folks with my license up in Chicago or whoever I'm talking to. Right. They can see the same thing I'm looking at, so they know what I'm thinking.
Right, but you have it all cataloged in your brain. I mean, sometimes we think of things and they just kind of float away.
It's a file cabinet.
You're just a computer. This is what it is. You're not a human, you're a computer.
Well, the trick is, though, the trickiest part of it is making sure that something I think of is not something I've already thought of before.
Right.
So I have to go through this mental exercise, which I'm not sure exactly how it happens, but it always happens that way. So that when I think of something, I know that's new.
Right. Well, speaking of new, look at this wonderful stackable you did this year, and it lights up. So this is something that's just intriguing because it has a great story that it's telling. The characters are fantastic. And then on top of it, you have this fun element with the lights, and it's just terrific.
I have to tell you, doing this styling, and I've done it with a lot of different subjects, is one of my favorite ways of expressing the story. It's and it's fairly whimsical. We'll put the bird up here where she belongs. There it is. And but that's a good example right here. This is a mixed media piece, so that it has some dynamics, and it has some proportion. And with the light, it's nice to tell the story, whether I'm telling the story of Mickey Mouse and the gang, or the Grinch, and all the characters and stuff like that.
The snowmen that you've done, the Peanuts characters.
Witches, the whole, anything that I can think of as a subject, there's generally enough elements to put them in this stackable form. It's interesting.
It's unique.
And it's a way of doing it with a little bit of whimsy, because it's kind of fun, the way they're stacked up and everything.
Yeah,
but one nice thing about it is I have so much going on in such a small footprint.
Right.
So people who collect my work, they get a piece like this, and it can be considered a major piece, and yet it only takes up this
space.
And some of the collectors out there, if you see their collections, they appreciate a small footprint.
I'm sure they need the space. And then, of course, you have some other great items, and the little minis are always nice too. And these are everyday items. You can use them all year long. They add some beauty and color to your room, and they're sort of seasonless in that regard.
That's the way I relax. That's what I do when I take a break.
Aww.
I work on something
little
different.
Minis. Little minis.
Well, the thing about it is they go fairly quick, and they're easy to do, and they are wonderful as far as people who like the subject or people who like to accessorize with them around a bigger subject.
Right, exactly.
So.
Oh, another question from the Facebook. So Julie says she loves your storybook plans that you have around Squeaky and Button. So tell us more about that, and I'm really excited to share this with our viewers out there. This is really big news.
Okay, the subject of teddy bear has always been something I've liked, and there's been so many great teddy bears in the gift market, going all the way back to the old German Steiff, and the Care Bears, and Winnie the Pooh, and the Boyd's Bears, and Cherish Teddies, and you name it. It goes on and on. And I felt like there was kind of a void at this particular time as far as a main character in the form of a teddy bear emerging. So I've always toyed around with that subject, and early on, when Jan and I were doing when we were doing craft shows in order to scrape together enough money to feed the kids, one of the things that we did is we would take Jan primarily, I say we, but I don't deserve very much credit for this, but she would make teddy bears out of old cutter quilts.
Really?
And she'd use chenille, and she'd use different things to make these teddy bears, and we'd take them into the, and that idea has always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I developed a line of teddy bears in my style, that's what I would follow, And we've actually got some of the old bears. I'll show some at some point in time.
Yeah.
But it's using the old cutter quilts that aren't good for anything else. They're torn up or otherwise thrown away.
Right.
And we repurpose them into throw pillows and different things, but the teddy bears.
Oh, I know.
And so I developed this character, and his name is Button, and he's got a quilted front, and he's got a purple belly button.
Of course, purple.
And so around that, we've created a lot of characters that are, a lot of sculptural pieces, figurines, about Button and his pet, which is Squeaky. That's a balloon dog.
A balloon dog who's adorable.
Purple, of course.
Of course.
And so we've got a whole array of items that we've already, created, gone through the whole process, have been shown in the market, and will start showing up on the shelves, going towards Christmas, like so many things are. And that's a continuing, subject and a continuing story. We'll have a lot of ancillary pieces. I love that word. It's one of those.
Ancillary. Sounds so smart.
Yeah, it makes me sound smart. I have a whole list of words like that I've memorized. But we'll have the plush pieces, and the thing that I'm working on right now is storybooks.
Oh, and I've seen it. It's wonderful.
It's a story about the first book is the story about, and we're in the process of the publishing process now. Mm-hmm. We've got the second book laid out. We've got the third book pretty much laid out, and we'll go through that because there's so many adventures and so many things around this character and the subject matter that is centered in the attic. Mm-hmm. And the attic, you've seen the pictures of the attic,
it's
and the
amazing.
Attic is a glorious wonderland.
It is,
and there's so many things for Button to get into and to discover and to find, and each one of them has the potential to lead into an adventure.
Right.
And the books will have seek and find puzzles in it, and a few things like that, and then they'll have hopefully a message, something that you can impart to your children or to your friends and everything, that about friendship and love and trust and faith and those sort of things.
And it's absolutely charming. And the book itself is a work of art. We have an example of
I've got one early picture here that I'd like to show you, give you sort of a taste of how this is going to be. This is the type of illustration we're going to have in the book, and this is a full color piece here. Now this is a prototype piece. I've added to this piece actually in the way it will be in the book, but this is one scene of him actually going up to discover this wonderful place, the attic. And that's in the first book. And as you can see, the artwork, isn't simple. It's not childlike. It's a real place. And I did that because I didn't want to talk down to kids. I wanted to give them a place that they can use their imagination, and they can go travel along with Button and Squeaky on all the events that they go. But it's a picture book that a lot of people, I think, will enjoy the artwork
is beautiful,
as well as the story.
Exactly. Oh, it's going to be something to treasure. I'm excited for that too. I love children's books. And speaking of things that children love, we have Disney. So lots of new items for Disney. One in particular, the Aladdin has been a big hit, I know, sort of a tribute to Robin Williams, who was just magnificent in his work.
He was. Indeed.
And I love that you've added a little touch of the story on the base. I mean, typically it's your quilting design that's on the base, but I've noticed with this new collection that you've done a little something different. Like there's a little piece of the story.
I like to add little elements like that, whether it's some scene that's in the robe or some, something
shells
alluding to it,
Yeah.
Disney, of course, they're just on the top of the mountain as far as, the illustrations and the stories and everything. We've all grown up with all of them. And it's an absolute honor and delight to work with Disney, for one thing, but it's just so interesting and so fascinating because there's so many wonderful stories. It's not just Mickey Mouse, who I love, by the way.
Yes.
And I've done all the iconic pieces, the Mickey, the Minnie, the Donald, and I'll always go back to doing those, and I've done them all the way back to Steamboat Willie. But I love the fact that I'm able to do all the different, stories that go along with it. Every movie has wonderful characters in it, wonderful stories that I can pull out of, and I've done it, as you can see, in these various different styles too.
Right.
We've got the storybook thing that I've done, so many times in so many different ways. Taking a storybook, and it's like you open up the book and there's a scene.
Right.
And the characters, and they come to life out of the book itself, and that's what this is. The Lion King, and even on the back you can see it says in print the Lion King. There's different elements. I've done a number of different Lion King ones of the storybook, as I've done with many, but this is one of my favorite ones because this is that kind of a ethereal kind of thing where he meets. And then I've got this one.
The White Woodland version.
The White Woodland version. And she's once again, the nice thing about the White Woodland is that it is neutral. And so it's something that you can actually use it almost like a decor piece.
Yes.
Not almost, you can use it like a decor piece.
It's year-round. It's not, holiday oriented.
Yeah, well, it doesn't dominate,
Right.
So many of my pieces, and in the art world, I'm sort of known, that is that part of the art world that takes me seriously. I'm sort of known as colorist.
Okay.
Because I use this wide color palette and so forth. So a lot of times the pieces, while they're, the people that collect them, they love the piece and everything, but it's a piece that's separate from everything else because of the fact that it's so colorful.
Right.
In fact, I have actually had people that have redecorated their kitchens and stuff to suit a certain particular piece, which is very gratifying, but you can't do that in every case. But with the White Woodland, you can.
That fits in any kind of decor.
Yeah, it fits in anything. And of course, then you can go right down here and see all the different characters, and there's Winnie the Pooh, and so forth. So it's an absolute delight to work on the Disney pieces.
And speaking of the White Woodland, that's one of the ones that's in our special event tonight, because with a purchase of $25 or more, you can receive one of Jim's beautiful signed pieces. They're listed on the homepage at jimshore.com. It's all spelled out for you. And anything that you purchase from 7 o'clock tonight all the way through tomorrow night. So this is spanning quite a distance here, not just this evening. And then if you go to jimshore.com, you just have to go on there to do your shopping and make sure you let us have 4 to 6 weeks to deliver it to you. Jim needs time to sign all of those pieces, And then, of course, shipping rates apply, and we will, be able to take not phone orders or special orders, but anything that comes through jimshore.com.
Yeah, and that's a lot of information to absorb in just a couple of minutes here, but it is spelled out in detail on the website, so you can go, and if you forget one point of it or another, you can go to the website and it will explain exactly what Valerie just told you.
Right. And now we have another question from the Facebook, and this comes from Michelle. She says she's looking forward to the Seven Dwarfs Homeward Bound masterpiece, the big piece that's coming out later this year. She's already pre-ordered it, and she knows that, she's all excited about it. She's wondering if it'll be signed and if you're going to do others like that, those big pieces.
Well, let me say this about that. That particular piece, that big Homeward Bound piece, is based on the popularity of a piece that I did a number of years ago that is still on the line, by the way.
Wow.
And it's the longest lasting piece on the line. I do so many pieces, and in order to keep the line manageable, unfortunately, we have to go through and we retire pieces, and we take them off the line and replace them with new stuff. Oftentimes, the pieces don't actually get a chance to fulfill their potential.
Sure.
Because they're coming on and off.
Right.
And we have to do that, otherwise it would be, every line would be like my collection that's right over here on the wall.
It would be endless. Your website would be so huge. Right?
So we can't do that. So, but this one piece, and that's the Dwarfs on a Log,
right,
has been there, I think, for maybe 8 or 9 years now.
Wow.
And that's longer than any other piece has stayed on. And it's as popular now as it was in the beginning.
Oh, wow.
So this Homeward Bound piece is based on that design. But it's a big piece. It's an oversized piece. And it plays music. And it's something that we've started to add, we've been adding to music and lights and different things to make these things more interesting.
Right.
Along with the storytelling, and it has that song, Whistle While You Work.
Right, because they're marching.
Everybody knows that, and you hear that song and you immediately think of the dwarves coming home from the,
holding their axe.
from the mines or what have you.
Right.
And so that's a great piece. I was happy to see that. Will I be doing more pieces, like
Large
that?
size, yeah.
Yeah, I like doing larger size pieces, and oftentimes it'll be a version of something I've already done in a regular size, and or something I've done for the outdoors, or what have you.
Right.
And some of the more popular pieces that are on the line, potentially could be redone as an oversized piece. I like that approach, quite frankly, and so it's something that, and I've done it. I've done it with different cats, different angels. I did it with the St. Francis piece that was such a popular piece, and that sort of thing. So yeah, you can see that. I absolutely will, depending on what the subject is.
Right.
But that one piece is near and dear to me because it's been such a popular piece.
Oh, sure. Now, is it a signed piece? Because that was part of her question.
Well, actually, it's hard to say. It's
he doesn't
not
remember.
Not every piece will be signed.
Right.
Obviously.
Right.
I mean,
that's very special. That's why tonight's event is such a big deal.
Yeah, and it's a matter of it takes time to arrange those kind of things.
Right.
It will be a featured piece in all of the signings that I do.
Okay.
And that sort of thing. And so I invite people to, once our signing schedule is in place, if I'm anywhere near you, come and see me, and
bring your piece.
And that piece will be available. That and a lot of others, anything that you've got. And I think most shops even let you bring a couple pieces from home, or depending on what their rules are. And but I never say no.
Oh, I know you don't. It's not in you. It's not in you. Well, the next collection is the Coastal Collection. And what would, a Jim Shore collection be without shore pieces, right?
Very clever. Haven't heard that one before.
Well, I can't take credit for that. That's from our dear friends over here. But it's that time of year. Everybody's thinking about the beach. We have spring break. Summer's coming. Vacations are being planned. So we have timeless pieces added to your Coastal Collection that are beautiful. And I love the color scheme, the blues, the tans. That sand and sun and blue sky feel.
Everybody loves water.
Everyone loves the beach. Period.
And of course we live here in South Carolina. And we're just a couple of hours from our beautiful coast, and we live. Jan, my wife, and the kids and everything. We live on a recreational lake here in South Carolina, so we're around water all the time. So it's only natural that I would do something relevant to water. Right. But I've noticed that a lot of our pieces that are coastal pieces, are very popular in Iowa, Nebraska, and these places. Because
they want to be at the beach. They wish they lived at the beach.
But if you like that subject, which everybody does, it's this is a great little collection to have. And like so many of my pieces, there's some storytelling going on in it, and there's a little bit of whimsy, and it's covered so many of the subjects. And I've got I tell you, the first group I ever did, I think a lighthouse and maybe an old seafarer.
Oh.
And I did that actually at the request of some of my friends that lived at the coast.
Sure.
And I thought, okay, well, I'll do it for them. That's that.
Yeah.
Well, we found out that like I said, our biggest sales, were in the Midwest, and places you wouldn't think of as being, coastal oriented.
Right. Right.
But if you like the ocean and that sort of thing, or if you like the lake life, and this is something that, once again, and I always urge this, as gifts or as these smaller pieces, these are ornaments and so forth, but
they hang.
we use these smaller pieces for place settings when we go to parties, and then it's kind of a going away gift, folks that are at our parties, and so that's something to keep in mind. But and it's nice to accessorize with this, if you have a party or something.
Right.
So it's
and I know you like mermaids, so this is a beautiful mermaid. And I know you've done lots and lots and lots of them, but that seems to be a subject that a lot of people do enjoy.
A lot of people do. It's one of those sort of subjects. That there's like a subculture out there that that love mermaids. I've found out that just about every subject you can possibly think of. There's a group out there.
Somebody likes
There's a group out there. There's like they say, there's someone for everyone.
Everybody, yes.
Well, I think that holds true with these kind of things too.
Right. Well, here's our next question from Facebook, and maybe some of our folks out there don't know that you just came back from a great big trip out to the UK. You went to Germany, Holland, Belgium, and you were there for 10 days doing signings all over the place. One of your folks out there in the UK wants to know, when's the next UK signing event?
Well, that's a question that I can sort of answer and sort of not, because we're coming, but we haven't finalized the schedule yet. But that is in the works for me to come to. Actually, this year I think we're going to spend even more time and maybe make some additions. Maybe going to France and some other places. I think this is going to be a 17-day tour coming up this year.
Wow!
And we'll come back to some of the same countries that we visited already. I had an absolutely wonderful time in each of those 4 places. People have asked me what was your favorite. I can't answer that, because I think of England, the times we had in England, and we had such a wonderful time with the signing. So many people showed up. It was such an absolute, it was a surprise, really, the number of people.
We talked about that. You weren't sure what to expect.
I was not sure what to expect, and I was absolutely delighted at the size of the crowd, the enthusiasm of the crowd, and it was just absolutely wonderful. And then, I had such a wonderful time in Germany. The folks there at the Druckzuck is the name of the shop, and by the time I left, I was like family. Actually, we hugged each other and wept.
I love it.
It was wonderful, really. And then the folks in Holland did such a magnificent job of decorating they oriented the entire shop for that one signing.
Wow.
And it was absolutely beautiful. I've never seen it done better. Oh. And then the signing in Belgium was just over the top. We had so many people, and it was a 2-hour signing that ended up going from 12 o'clock at noon till almost 9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So I met so many wonderful people, and it was just an absolute delight. I so look forward to going back. And so we'll go back to the UK for sure,
right.
and some of these other places. The schedule hasn't been finalized yet, but if you keep track of what I'm doing and where I'm going, and it's all on all on the website, it'll be posted as time goes on.
Well, I understand they are going to release the schedule rather soon, so you will be able to see.
And the U.S. schedule, which will be, normally most of my signings are towards the end of the year. It'll be released pretty soon. I don't know exactly when, but very quickly. We're putting that all together, and we're blocking out the time for the different places we want to go, and we try to do it in such a way that the different regions, get some attention,
right,
and that sort of thing. So, if you keep track of what I'm doing on the website, that'll all be posted, as quickly as we get it all together.
Right. So more to come, and I know that you're even reaching further in years to come. You're going to be going even as far as, Australia and the Orient. So he'll be all over
next
the place.
year, not this year, but next year, we're planning on doing, as you say, some of our friends in the Orient. They have, I have quite a following there.
Well, I'm sure you do.
And in Australia, and I've, in New Zealand and so forth, and so we'll plan that. And we might even plan a trip to Moscow.
Wow.
So we'll see how that works, but that's for next year.
Right.
But so things are, things now that we've turned more attention to the needs and desires of our European cousins, we'll be
going even more international.
Doing more and more. Yeah.
That's right. Well, speaking of somebody who is loved throughout the world, Snoopy. And you have some adorable Snoopy pieces this time around, something that'd be great for Valentine's Day. I love the little guy with the typewriter. And, here we have them, the whole gang reading their newspapers. I mean, just adorable.
Well, Peanuts is something, to me, is put together by an absolute genius. Mm-hmm. The artwork is so unforgettable. It's an American icon.
Yes.
Charlie Brown, Lucy, Snoopy, and the whole gang. But it's more than just a cartoon. It's philosophy.
I know.
It's psychology.
Yes.
It's a whole lot of things wrapped into one in the form of a whimsical and oftentimes humorous, way of expressing. And it's one of my favorites. And so when we had the chance to team up with them, man, I was so excited because it's something that that has been an influence to me artistically and in a lot of different ways, for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, and he's the everman. There's something about him that's very relatable.
Yeah.
I think all of us, it touches something emotionally, and you can really feel like, oh, I get that. Snoopy just brings all of that to life.
Well, sometimes it's just something humorous, but oftentimes there's a hidden message there, that we can all learn from, and it's just a terrific, artistic expression, and Mr. Schultz, God bless him and God rest his soul, brought something truly unique and unforgettable to us, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
And carrying it on for him, continuing his legacy.
Exactly.
All right, we've got a great question from the Facebook group. Natalia says, have you ever considered doing an Easter basket that is Disney themed? Which I think that's really interesting.
Well, to begin with, I think the name Natalia is absolutely beautiful.
Beautiful, yes.
It's almost poetic, Natalia.
Natalia.
It's a delicate word.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, the question is about
doing a Disney-themed Easter basket.
Well, I have to thank Natalia because I actually hadn't thought about doing that.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant idea. See,
but
he needs help from the viewers out there.
As soon as the question was asked, I'm thinking, heck yeah.
That's great.
Why not?
Why not? And it solves your problem. What else are you going to do this year for your Easter basket, right?
Right.
What's the latest basket going to look like?
But I mean, immediately that just conjures up so many ideas, for using all the Disney characters. And once again, what is it? I mean, is it going to be Ariel?
Yeah, all the princesses,
and all the
villains,
princesses,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe all the animal, sidekicks or something, right?
And then we got to thinking about, not only the Disney, but some of the other co-brands.
There you go.
Like the Grinch, or
a Grinch basket,
or Rudolph.
Right.
I mean,
a Snoopy basket.
I would never run out of subject matter,
It could be endless.
But that was a great idea, and that's sort of Natalia, unbeknownst to her, has opened a floodgate of ideas.
I know.
So that's I appreciate that, honestly.
So keep a lookout, Natalia.
I'll tell you the truth. You talk about inspirational ideas and all that kind of stuff. I get a lot of that from people that I share time with at the signings, or that people contact me on Facebook in different ways.
Yeah.
Everybody's got all these wonderful ideas, and I'm so appreciative of that. And we make a list of it. We take everything seriously. If they want a certain subject or a certain thing,
Right.
And so many of the ideas are so unique and creative, and I am so happy to be able to do something that is being done for the folks that I'm working for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually quite an honor.
Makes it nice, so it's an exchange.
Absolutely. Well, this is part of your patriotic collection, which is something I know is near and dear to your heart. You're so patriotic. This follows your family traditions, your love for America, and so you have some wonderful, wonderful pieces here. This is an interesting one, the Uncle Sam. Great size.
I know.
Very interesting the way you did him. I love the feel of it.
This is in a very folk art style. You know, sometimes I veer away from a purely folk art style and some of these other styles or these other pieces, but this one is very much like like you would see a real folk art piece done, and people who add that to their collection who like the folk art things, the more slightly primitive, out of proportion things in the right way, will really like this piece. But yeah, you're right about our feeling towards patriotism, towards our country. We're blessed, truly blessed. I mean, that word gets thrown around. You're blessed. But it truly is the fact that we as Americans are born and raised, or sometimes the immigrants that come in and share our values and become Americans. We're in the greatest place and the greatest time in the history of our planet. There's no place like America, and I've been all over the place. And this is the greatest country on the face of the earth. We've contributed more to the goodness of mankind than any other country. And I honor those who have sacrificed to keep that going.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of military folks in our family. My father-in-law, who just unfortunately just left us not long ago, was 98 years old, and he was a career military guy, and had a Silver Star from the Battle of the Bulge, and a lot of different things like that. And I did a special project for the folks at Fort Bragg, and a couple of years ago, and got to meet an awful lot of the Special Forces guys, and they're just the cream of the crop, and it makes me so pleased and proud to do things kind of in their honor, to express to them and allow them and all of us to share along with me, my appreciation for the fact that we're Americans.
I love that. And you even have something to commemorate 9/11, support the troops, even the Statue of Liberty. Look at this piece. This is really great.
Yeah, I really like that piece.
That is a tremendous piece, and the detail on that is beautiful.
Yeah, that makes a statement, I think.
It certainly does.
It makes a visual statement.
It certainly
does. Draped in the American flag.
That's
and
beautiful.
with that extremely important
liberty.
word right there, liberty. That's what started it all, and that's what this whole thing continues, to be about. And that's what makes us great.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. And if you're just tuning in, we hope that you'll go to jimshore.com, because we have a wonderful signing event going on tonight. With a purchase of $25 or more, you're able to get and purchase a number of beautiful signed pieces by Jim. It's all spelled out on jimshore.com. So if you're on Facebook, don't worry, just go over to the homepage. It'll be there from 7 o'clock tonight all the way through tomorrow. And we need 4 to 6 weeks for shipping. Regular shipping rates apply. We can't do any special orders, we can't do any phone orders, so you have to purchase it on jimshore.com and make sure that it's in-stock items only. But that's what's happening tonight on top of everything else.
True.
Right. And we have one more Facebook question, which I thought was also a great one. This one comes from Lee. She goes, I love all your artwork, but will you ever do a line of quilts?
Well, sort of in a way. We're quilt enthusiasts, in my family. My grandmother was a master quilter. She inspired me, greatly. And the fact is, my wife and I, we have a wonderful collection of vintage quilts. A lot of the designs that I use in some of my pieces, come from that collection. Jan and I wrote a book about quilts.
Did you really?
The Joy of Quilting.
I never knew that.
Well, when people ask me, do I know something about quilts, I say, I wrote the book. But now, I do have a fabric line that, is, out there, and it's geared to the quilter. That's what I designed it for.
Okay.
So, and it's available in a lot of the fabric stores that you can go into, your specialty stores and that sort of thing, and ask for Jim Shore Designs, and you will see them hopefully.
Right.
I think some of them, I'm not sure if they're posted on the website, but if they're not, they should be.
Okay, and tell everyone your partner brand.
Benertex.
I never say it right, Benertex.
Benertex.
So you should be able to go on their website and see your design.
You can go on Benertex and see that. And in fact, my wife Jan, she has a collection on there too.
Does
so
she
you
really?
can sort of get the whole family
Wow,
thing.
you know, she may be the genius behind the man for all we know.
Well,
right?
you know what they say. You know.
She wrote the book, she came up with designs, and now I know that she inspired buttons. That I did not know before.
She has been my inspiration from the word go. She, you know, early on, and I say that sort of, you know, jokingly, but not. I mean, early on when we were really struggling and trying to make our way in the art world and everything, she was kind of the glue that held everything together.
Sure.
And it, you know, if we had to shake the change out of the couch for, you know, to make ends meet, she was the one that really stepped up and kept us all going while I was out there trying to catch this elusive butterfly. You know?
Right. Well, every good man needs a good woman behind him, right?
I got one.
That's right. And I didn't know that the whole Buttons storybook collection that you're working on is really a group effort. Jan helped write, and other people, you know, participated in giving ideas. So it's been really a collaborative effort amongst your whole family and your circle.
I can take the credit for sort of generating the push to do the thing, because I wanted to do the teddy bear thing. So I used, you know, what I was familiar with to you know, start that line. But as far as the ideas and the growth of the line, and particularly the storybook, you know, I've done all the artwork and everything, of course, but and my assistant Crystal, she did has done the color work, and Jan was doing some of the writing, and then my assistants, my daughter Robin and Dominique Ritter. Both of them have been they do everything that I can't do, or I won't do. They keep me organized. They keep everything going. If things need to happen in the office and so forth, they're the ones that make it happen.
Right.
So they make sure that everything goes smooth, and they do a terrific job of that. And I actually, to tell you the truth, without all that support, not to mention my main guide, Gerald Massey, he's front and center with everything I do.
Yeah, he is.
And you, and behind the camera there is Michael. He's done a fantastic job of all the video stuff that we do. So collectively, as a group, I get a lot of pats on the back because I'm the artist.
Right.
But the real credit should go, to everybody else in the group.
You have a wonderful team.
So,
you have a wonderful team, and everyone loves you.
We absolutely do.
So, speaking of superheroes, because Gerald is our superhero, right? We have some of your DC collection, and I did not realize that this was something that you were interested in or had wanted to get involved in. So this was news to me that you were into DC.
Well, the thing about these characters, lately, a lot of them have been, showcased in movies and so forth, and sort of brought a resurgence of interest among, even people who never were comic book enthusiasts, got introduced to the characters through the movies, and one thing and another,
right.
with Wonder Woman and Batman and so forth, and so it's become popular, even though it may or may not be thought of as comic book characters per se,
right.
but they're interesting characters, these super heroes. And so it was, and it's something, of course, as a kid, I grew up with comic books, and then those characters back during the what they called the Silver Age of the comic books.
So were you a comic book fan? Did you actually read comic books?
I did occasionally. I wasn't, I wasn't hardcore like a lot of people are,
right.
or a lot of people carry that interest, and there's a large number of people who are very enthusiastic about the subjects and also very knowledgeable, and there's a lot of, the stories go all over the place,
right.
and so forth.
And all kinds of iterations of them too, right?
But, I think one of the reaching themes of the comic characters, it's always a struggle, to dark against light, the good and the evil, and somehow or another, good, always wins out.
Right.
So.
Right. So who couldn't like that,
yeah,
right?
It's a great story.
I love a happy ending. I always want a happy ending.
But it's like Wonder Woman, It's like Wonder Woman. This is an example of what we try to instill in our daughters and everything today. To be strong and be forceful. And you can be a positive force. Doesn't matter. What anything about your background. It doesn't matter your race. It doesn't matter your what gender you are. Any of that kind of stuff. If you fight hard and you stay true to your values,
right,
and everything, you can succeed.
Exactly.
And that's a good example. So a lot of those stories like that, or those sort of underlying stories, are there with these characters. So that's one of the things I like about it.
Do you have a favorite?
Superman.
Okay, why?
Because I like the theme song of the old the old series.
Yeah.
The way they introduced him.
Right. No, you're right. I mean, it has broken a whole world out there. A lot of people who weren't interested in comics at all have now, sort of taken a different look at it.
Yeah.
It's become a unique thing that people are really interested in. And what I thought was interesting about these pieces is it doesn't have your traditional quilting or any of those things that you typically have in a Jim Shore piece. Like, for instance, I'll show them again. Instead of the base having a quilt or some kind of design that's typical to Heartwood Creek or something like that, you have the Batman logo.
Yeah.
So I thought it was, you did a little bit of a departure here, but it's interesting and it's different.
Well, that was actually intentional. I put things on the front that sort of tell are little part of the story of the character. All of them have it. This one has it on front or on top there.
Right.
But and their logo, their insignia, and so forth. I just thought that was more appropriate than to put something that is, you might say, decorative.
Right. Exactly.
That takes away from the character, the strength of the character. I want because these things are so powerful. I thought it would be interesting to do more of a pure, approach to this. So the people out there who like the subjects, I think, will agree with me in that regard.
I'm sure they will. And do you have any intentions of doing more? Is there more in the line coming?
Yeah, I will eventually do not only more characters, but more scenes, more involved sort of vignettes, the way I do with so many,
Yes.
And there may be some storybook things or some,
right.
Carved in heart approaches to, getting the groupings together.
Right.
So
or an Easter basket of DC characters.
Yeah.
What
great
little
idea.
kid won't like that idea, right? Well, yes, I'm sure there's lots of longevity here. You could come up with a million things to do. But before we time out here on our show, tell us what's happening in the Shore House for Easter this year. Anything special?
Well, that's we never turn down an opportunity to get together and have a big family meal or something. It's always a raucous time when the Shore clan gets together.
I know. I've been hearing about it for years.
6 kids, 14 grandkids, and then the boyfriends and the girlfriends and the all of that, and then friends of friends, and so we always have these big crowds that show up, and Easter's one of those times where we. We'll do a nice big dinner and everybody comes back from church and we'll have Easter egg hunts and dyeing the eggs and it's an absolute mess.
I'm sure it's wonderful.
But everybody, all the kids have a good time.
Yeah.
So there's always something for the adults and there's something for the kids too.
And you might steal a few ideas from those kids' eggs.
I always do.
You never know. They might have some brilliant inspiration for you.
Yeah, they inspire me in a lot of different ways.
Well, it's been wonderful having you with us tonight. Again, go to jimshore.com between 7 tonight and all day tomorrow. And if you purchase $25 or more, you're welcome to purchase one or more of his wonderfully signed pieces. It's all spelled out on jimshore.com. And if you're on Facebook, just head on over there and you can take advantage of that too. Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, be good, be safe. We love you all. And you'll see us again.
Happy Easter.
Bye-bye.